नंदिनी, आपने ज्वाइन किया है?
The slides are there.
Perfect. Can you put that
Definitely,
in
it's
the
visible.
present?
It's visible.
Yeah, if you
मुझे
can put it in the
पीपीटी मुझे
presentation
आया।
mode, that would be good.
Slides are
Perfect.
moving, sir.
Yes, they are. Thanks, Rohit.
Nandini, are you there? डॉक्टर रोहित, नंदिनी को होस्ट बनाइए। Nandini, are you getting my voice properly? Please respond. It's 6:27. We will start at 6:31.
Hello.
Yes, audible. I'm getting your voice. And you are perfectly visible. We'll start at 6:31. Okay. Participants are joining slowly. It's 6, I think 62, 63. We'll start at after 100. Okay. नंदिनी आप स्टार्ट करिए और पार्टिसिपेंट्स ऐड होते रहेंगे। 125 हैं, धीरे 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 200 प्लस पहुंच जाएंगे। ठीक है, आप स्टार्ट करिए।
Am I clearly audible and visible, sir?
यस यस यस, प्लीज प्रोसीड।
Good evening, everyone. On the behalf of AgriNeed Foundation Bharat, me Nandini Sharma, warmly welcome you all to day 3 of our training program. Over the past 2 days, we have gained valuable insights in our inaugural ceremony, practical learning, and meaningful discussion that has helped us understand the evolving dimensions of agriculture, innovation, and leadership. This training is not just about knowledge sharing, it is about building a strong network of professionals, researchers, and change makers who will shape the future of agriculture. Today, as we move forward, we are privileged to have with us an eminent global leader, Dr. Venkat Raman, Vice President of Development and Strategy at Grow Further. Dr. Venkat is a visionary strategist working at the intersection of global social impact and economic innovation. With a PhD in genetics from Kansas State of University and an MBA from UCLA Anderson, he has spent over 20 years transforming scientific research into successful agri-tech solutions. His pioneering work with global organizations, including Monsanto and Illumina, has created sustainable models for improving food security and climate resilience across 6 continents. At Grow Further, he continues to drive innovation, forging partnerships that modernize agriculture system for smallholder farmers, boost yield, and open international markets while ensuring ethical and sustainable practices. His work with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and numerous global ventures reflect his deep commitment to turning humanitarian efforts into scalable business opportunities. We are truly honored to have with us here today to share his knowledge, experience, and vision with us. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Venkat Raman. Welcome, sir. The session is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Nandini, and thank you, Ankur, for giving this opportunity and a platform to talk to your students, your faculty members. Like Nandini mentioned, the last 20 years, my career has been focused on doing for-profit activities, working for big corporates, and also, launching multiple startups. But more recently, transitioned into doing philanthropic activity through my work at Grow Further. So, what I hope to do today, want to keep this informative as much as possible. Try and share with you some of my thoughts on and perspectives on where AI is disrupting agriculture. As you all know, that AI is almost entered in all the fields, whether it's medicine, whether it's finance. But the goal here is today is to just understand, what sort of AI disruptions are happening in the field of agriculture and agriculture biotechnology in general. But also towards the end of today's presentation, I want to focus and share with you some of the work that I'm doing at Grow Further and how we are trying to deploy a philanthropic capital to address some of the biggest challenges that we face in humanity today related to food security and with leveraging the innovation developments that are happening, particularly in the AI space. I want to kind of highlight some case studies there. So let's get started. Just a quick check here. Is my voice coming across okay? And are you able
Yes,
to
sir.
hear me?
It's
Okay,
perfectly audible.
perfect, perfect.
Yes
Thank you
sir,
very
yes
much.
sir, perfect।
Yeah, thanks. And I want this this session to be as interactive as possible. So feel free to interact through the chat box and if you have any thoughts or questions, I think we should kind of visit them, either during the session or towards the end of the presentation. But let me just start off. So good morning, a very good morning to all of you. So we're going to be diving into a fantastic topic. Which is artificial intelligence in agriculture biotechnology. When most of people think about AI, they try to intend to imagine relative to robotics or self-driving cars or chat GPT. But AI is quite revolutionizing something which is much closer to all of us, particularly in the field of agriculture. The way we produce food, or the way we protect the crop plants, or the way the crops are delivered from one end of the world to another end of the world. And so AI is pretty much taking over all those areas, from food production to supply chain and so on and so forth. So by the end of this lecture, what I hope you all will understand is how AI is becoming a backbone for modern agriculture, and why it matters for global food security, and how it could shape the farming in your lifetime. So let's kick off. Can I have the first slide, please? Thank you very much. So let's unpack, what does AI actually mean in agriculture? So when you talk about AI, a lot of people generally think about ChatGPT or Gemini and all these things, but that's not. It's a language learning model. It's not really an AI. The actual AI is slightly different, and there are different components of AI when you talk about it, and that's mentioned here in the slide on the right hand side. You can see there's machine learning. So essentially machine learning, and these are algorithms that are used to train huge amount of data sets. When you talk about biology, when you talk about agriculture, it produces a lot of data. The weather data, the genomics data, the phenotypic data. So you should have sophisticated, or algorithms that can be trained based on this massive amount of data. So think about it. For example, if you want to predict the next year's, we all here in the US, we grow a lot of corn. So, think about predicting the next year's yield in corn, or for example, in rice. So by looking at years of weather, soil, crop data, the system learns patterns, and can actually surprisingly, forecast accurately what are the yields going to be for the next year and so forth. So I just give an example of corn, but then there are other crops as well where these models can be understood, they can be trained, and then they can be used towards predicting accuracy of certain agronomic traits. Now the other aspect of that is the deep learning, which is a branch of machine learning, and it uses neural networks. And so it's a digital model. Neural networks are digital models that are inspired by human brain. And so these are great at recognizing complex patterns, like spotting a disease leaf in a field, based on the field photo that you uploaded to your smartphone. So later on during my presentation, I'm going to be sharing with you one of the case studies where how Grow Further is actually partnered with an organization in Tanzania to develop a smartphone-based app for disease detection that works, in crops like common beans and also in maize. So the other important component is computer vision, so which allows machines to see crops the way our eyes do, and but with a greater accuracy and speed. Okay, so and then the other component is the predictive analytics, and so this helps farmers forecast yields, spot disease outbreaks, and even estimate market prices, and so on and so forth. So think about this, how many of you have used weather apps, or decided whether to bring on an umbrella on a given particular day or not. So this is predictive analytics in action. So if you can exactly know, based on the models, and here, the weather patterns are pretty accurate. And so when you look at an app, and you have a forecast that it's going to be a sunny day, then it most of the time it turns out to be a sunny day. And I'm sure you're used to be using those kinds of apps in whichever part of the world you are. And so now imagine that sort of a powerful guiding tool for farmers on when to plant and when to irrigate. So those are some of the kind of AI related applications, that farmers are currently getting benefited. Now, can I go to the next slide? I'll be talking about another application here, which is mostly precision, precision agriculture. Ankurji, there are a lot of people that are raising hands. Do they want to ask any questions, or do they want to contribute?
Definitely, sir. After your lecture, we will have a 15 minutes doubt clearing session. Okay. If anybody has any doubt, they will write in a chat box. My personal secretary will read and you will answer, sir.
Okay, sounds good. So
In
I'm on the
between, sir,
slide number.
this will create a nuisance, sir. Nuisance. This will create a nuisance. After your completion of the lecture, 15 minutes, there will be a doubt clearing session.
Okay, fantastic.
That
So
will create a
yes.
great impact, sir, I think.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so so whoever has some burning questions, please hold on to it. We'll come back and so as Dr. Ankur suggested that we kind of attend to those towards the end for having a very efficient meeting here. Okay, so thank you, Ankur, Dr. Ankur. So can I go to the slide number 2, which is mostly on precision agriculture? We are now, I think, can you go to this? I think this is I'm seeing a different kind of slide here, which is crop optimization and yield prediction. Slide number 2, please. Precision agriculture.
Second slide, sir.
Yeah, precision agriculture.
Yeah.
The title of the slide should be precision agriculture. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you, Rohit. So now, in the past, farmers would treat an entire field the same way, right? Same amount of water across the field, or same amount of fertilizer and same amount of pesticide. So it's not mostly an optimized way of doing agriculture, because then sometimes there could be unequal distribution of fertilizer from a prior planting, and so without actually knowing what precisely way of controlling fertilizer or water, the farmers would actually do the same things again and again. So which means that they're losing some money by over fertilizing a given area where you don't actually need fertilization, or where you don't need excess water because water is already there, right? So all of these inputs are costs associated with agriculture. Now, for example, if you take one corner of an agriculture field, that might be more sandy soil or another clay. So there's a different retention of water capacity in these things. So what AI power precision farming does is, we have the ability to integrate the remote sensing data. So you can use the drones, the satellites, and can scan the entire field and spotting areas of stress to invisible eye or naked eye, because they use like powerful cameras, infrared cameras that will actually tell which area has got more water, which area does not have more water. So you have the ability to go back and control the level of water usage, and which is consistent and which is uniform across the field, and that way you're using less amount of water. And so smart irrigation is also another thing where a drone can communicate with an internet IoT device which is present in the field, and then instead of watering the whole field, the AI system delivers water exactly where it is actually needed, right? And then there's a variable rate technology, so machineries apply the precise amount of fertilizers or pesticide base on real-time data. Now there are a lot of companies that are there where they actually do a prior evaluation of the fertilizer that's present in the soil, and then they can make an accurate determination of what exact composition of the fertilizer should be, so that you get the best bang for your buck. And finally, the IoT, the Internet of this things, that there are a lot of sensors that are these are tiny devices that you can actually put in the field to monitor moisture, nutrients, and also even the microclimatic range. The IoT sensors are also now being utilized for evaluating the carbon presence and the emission of nitrous oxide gases. So this is a technology that's currently being evolved. We don't have them completely integrated into the farming systems yet. But these are some opportunities that exist where the sensors could be utilized for measuring the amount of carbon that's in the present, which can then translate into benefits or sort of a passive income for farmers, if they want to sell the carbon credits in the exchange markets and so on and so forth. So that's a technology that is currently being developed. And the challenge is to really measure accurately the amount of carbon. And so there's a lot of work that's going on there in terms of improving the accuracy through the sensor technology and so on and so forth. So I think by integrating all these different technologies and then utilizing artificial intelligence to make the right amount of decisions, it can cut the water usage in the farm, in the different farms, by about 50% and also increase the yield by about 15 to 20% because now you've optimized the nitrogen, you optimize the water, you optimize, the other crop genetics and stuff like that. You can actually then utilize these technologies to improve the real outcome, what farmers do really care about, right? Now, can we go to the next slide, the crop optimization and yield predictions? Thank you. So, well, in terms of, we talked about water and utilization of inputs, but also how to really optimize, the crops and the yield in the crops, and also improve the overall outcome of a given cropping season. So there are, we discussed this a little bit, that AI data, integrates multiple sources of information like the weather forecast, the soil quality test, historical yield records, and also genetics, which is very important. So the genetics and crop varieties. And so by combining all of these, AI can forecast yields weeks or even months before the harvest, which is very impressive and with the greatest detail of accuracy. And so it also helps optimize the schedules on, for example, when is the best time to plant, right? So if you know exactly what to plant, when to plant, and when should you fertilize a given crop or a given field. So, and also have some additional information in terms of early warnings. For example, if you know that a given field has got some yellowing of leaf is happening, there might be some disease occurrence in there. So oftentimes what farmers face is with a situation where they get encountered with a given disease occurrence at the time of symptom development, but then it's too late. So when you already see a symptom in the field, oh, my plants are being infested and the coloration of the leaves are yellow. And so we have very minimal time to react to a situation. But if you had a method through which you can detect early on, like a few weeks before the occurrence of the disease, then you would actually go into the field and do the actual mitigation strategies. So with all of these tools in farms, and it could potentially increase the yields by about 30%, and also reducing the utilization of key resources, right? And now one of the things that farmers face is like getting the right amount of economic incentives. When they grow a given crop, they need to be successful. And so the AI can also play a very an important role in terms of connecting them with opportunities. If in a given season, what sort of decisions or what sort of vegetables or what sort of key plant or crops that farmers need to plant, so that they can have a better market outcome. So if you even have devices where now it will tell you that a given farmer should grow so and so crop for given particular season, so that he can get the best outcome possible in terms of profits and in terms of the economic outcomes for a given season. So these are some of the examples. Now the other thing, so if you go to the next slide, I think I touched about crop optimization and weather yield prediction, but also how to use this for advanced disease management. And so I think I spoke a little bit about that in the previous slide here itself. But this, I'll come back to this topic also with a very detailed case study that we are funding as a Grow Further is funding an initiative with Nelson Mandela University in Tanzania to develop a smartphone-based app where farmers can take it to the field. But in general, if you look at pests and pathogens are very common to farmers. Like, these are the worst enemies, and these are some things that, farmers cannot ignore. Like, they are bound to occur in a field. But how smartly you are able to manage that is what I think is going to be, yielding success for a given crop season. So a sudden outbreak, can wipe out the entire, harvest. And traditionally farmers, use chemical sprays and as preventative methodologies. That is, and that that's when symptom has occurred, and then you're actually using a chemical spray to prevent from this thing. But it's oftentimes it's too much, and when it's not needed, and so that's costly, and it's also harmful for the environment, and also harmful to the people when they are overdosed with pesticides and fungicide that gets into the food chain, and which could have consequential impact on human health aspect of that. So what AI actually changes essentially with the early detection. So with the computer vision can spot a fungal infection before the visible symptoms appear. And so with the precise treatment, instead of spraying the whole field, AI can pinpoint the exact problem, like, hey, this pocket of the field has got infested with a fungal disease, and let's go and spray there, right? And so you're not actually using it across. And then predictive models, basically based on the weather and soil condition, AI can warn farmers when outbreak is likely to occur. So if it's like a very too dry sort of an environment or something like that, then there is an opportunity that you may get fungal attack and so on and so forth. So what the way this whole thing works, in terms of it's that you capture an image, and then you use an AI algorithm to identify a given disease type, and then based on that, you do targeted treatment. So this whole approach of using AI in disease and detection can reduce the pesticide utilization by about 30%, while in terms of increasing the accuracy by over 95%. And so that's some of the key applications of AI in terms of disease prevention and solving disease management issues. So I'm going to transition now into a very interesting area, which is in the next slide, which basically talks about AI accelerated plant breeding. Now, I spend a lot of my time in the area of genomics, and how to use genetic data to make predictions, in terms of genome selections and so on and so forth. So this is a very exciting area in plant breeding, and traditionally developing a new crop. Like if you look at a conventional approach, it can take anywhere from 10 to 15 years. Farmers need disease resistance and drought tolerant and also high yielding varieties much faster because of the climate change. You don't have a stable environment, and so earlier in the farmers or like breeders take great pride in saying that, hey, variety could last for 10 years. But now, because of the constant changing in climate, for every 3 years you need to release new varieties because that environment has changed. And so the variety that you developed was only as good for 3 years, and then you have to come back and replace. So imagine how much amount of realignment do you need to have in your breeding program, because traditional breeding programs are focused on developing varieties for every 10 years. So that sort of a mechanism, that sort of a process would not really be helpful in the current day situation, because your whole breeding pipeline should be adjusted in such a way that every 3 years you will have some new varieties. So that's where the modern technology, the low cost genome sequencing, and because if you look at the ability to sequence the genomes, it's very accessible. Back in those days when I remember I was a part of the group that was the first research program focused on rice genome sequencing in 1997. And it took like enormous amount of time to sequence the rice genome. But then we were the first. So, if you look at the value of having a genome sequence to researcher, is quite reflective in terms of the progress that we have made in terms of developing rice. So because rice genome was available to us early on compared to corn or wheat or any other types, the gene discovery process, the development of new varieties have been at a phenomenal pace, and that's all because that could be attributed because of the rice genome availability. And later on, like, when you had, new methods to sequence the genomes of corn and everything, I think the sequence became available. So in my lifetime, I had the opportunity to work with about 60 different genome sequencing initiatives, in oats and in maize, in rice and watermelon and tomatoes, etc., etc. But one of the things that, as you all know, the cost of genome sequencing, which used to be several millions and billions of dollars, right, early on, it's now down to, I think Human Genome, which is one of the biggest, genome sequencing project that was undertaken by the U.S. government. for every base pair. So human genome has got 3.8 billion base pairs. So like for every base pair, there was $1 that was allocated, which was the most expensive. So it was $3.8 billion sequencing project. But today, if you look at the human genome can be sequenced with less than $100 a genome, and the same disruption has actually happened in the case of crops as well. So now we have the ability to cost effectively sequence not just the genome, but you have the ability to sequence the pangenome and super pangenome. So understand the total genetic variability that exists within a crop species. For example, if you look at crops like wheat or crops like rice, we get the information of multiple hundreds and thousands of rice genomes that are available there. You can not only sequence the modern day varieties, we can also have the ability to sequence the land races and the wild varieties, and then understand the allelic variation that exists for a given gene across this, and then try to utilize that for breeding purposes. So and so that the overall genomics and also the phenotypic developments that have happened is giving us the ability to really develop varieties at much faster pace, right? At least in the commercial sector, we have seen that. But also, I was recently in Delhi and I visited the ICAR phenotyping center that have the modern state-of-the-art technology to do phenotyping, not just genotyping. So what I mean to say is that so that these sort of developments have significant impact, and now the AI integration into doing assessment of this large massive amounts of genome data or phenome or proteome or different sort of data can really have a significant impact for developing new varieties and also for identifying the traits and the sort of alleles that you need to have to fight against climate change, to fight against disease, and so on and so forth. So climate resilience, I think I mentioned this briefly, that AI can help target traits that withstand extreme heat and flood and drought tolerance, and then a faster breeding cycle, as we spoke about. So instead of like 10 to 15 years, now you're able to do it within 3 to 5 years, right? And then there is another new technology that you all are familiar with, and I think being in India, I think there's a lot of work that is happening in the genome editing space. So you have the ability to surgically make precise changes to the DNA of the cell. So as a result of which, you are able to bring in some very novel traits, with a single gene mutation. Indian Institute of Rice Research based in Hyderabad have come up with a variety where I had the opportunity to look at the field trials, and with one single gene mutation, you have the ability to increase the yield by about 30%. And similarly, I've heard that there are several other interesting projects that are in the pipeline where people are looking at genome editing as an alternative tool, or to sort of complement with the modern genomics tool sets to come up with new varieties and also with new traits of interest for farmers that will help them fight against the climate change and so on and so forth. So all of these things are like upgrading. Think about it from dial-up internet to more fiber optic speed in plant sciences. So, well, when we talk about agriculture, we also have to talk about sustainable practices. And this is an area. So, Rohit, can you go to the next slide, which talks about sustainable farming practices? So it's in the heart of modern agriculture, and AI can also have a significant impact in terms of resource optimization. So we talked about this in the previous example, how optimized utilization of water, fertilizer, and pesticide. That's one. So because then you're not overpowering, or you're not over like spraying of fertilizers or pesticides in the plants, as a result of which you get very little minimal runoff of all these fertilizers, which can have consequential impact on the society and the ecological imbalances that it can occur. And so that's one area where AI is really helping you to be more sustainable. But also we talked about reduce usage of chemical use, like so if you look at because the modernization by use of heavy utilization of pesticides and fertilizers, the microbial constitution of the soil has got significantly lower. As a result of it, the nutrition in the plant has impacted. So like if you look at the vitamins that are present in the tomatoes that were there, 50, 60 years ago, because we still were using, traditional practices or, or organic practices. And you took at the tomatoes that are produced today, they're about like 50% reduction in the vitamins that are present in the food. So it not only is harmful for the environment, but also it can have a significant impact on the soil microbial population, as a result of which which can further relate to lowering the nutritional composition of the food that we eat. So it's one thing to eat a food. But it's also equally important to have a food that is loaded with high amount of nutrient density. So all of these practices, AI can have a significant in terms of making sure that it can also reduce the harmful effects of chemical utilization. Now, I'll tell you one other thing, which there's a lot of evidence that is coming out where the food nutrition has got an impact on the gut microbiome of human beings. So the food that we eat can influence the microbial population that's present within the gut of the human beings. So which in turn is now shown to have linkages to several chronic illnesses like diabetes, or for mental health like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, and all of these things can happen. So you can imagine that how a food would play a very important role, and furthermore, where the food is coming from can have a significant impact on the human health. So, which is kind of interesting. And that's something that is known for a long time in the traditional Indian agriculture, but now people are now looking at, data and trying to understand this. So the other area where we talked about where soil health monitoring and AI can really guide crop rotation and soil testing. So like when to plant what, right? And so that is also another sustainable way of practicing, so that you can have a crop rotation, and as you're growing rice with the combination of another legume, so then you're fixing the nitrogen that's present in the atmosphere, and so you're increasing the nitrogen composition of the soil, and so on and so forth. So the other thing is, in terms of sustainability, is the climate adaptation. So farmers receive AI driven strategies, to adjust the rising temperatures or the irregular rainfalls, and then can really optimize it. So overall, I think it will be, I think, suffice to say that AI is helping farmers produce more amount of food with less environmental impact, and so on and so forth. So so the other area which is also equally important is in the robotics and automation. So if you go to the next slide, thank you. So it's AI, when you talk about it, isn't just about invisible algorithms, right? It's embodied into machines. You have autonomous tractors that have the GPS and the coordinates, and then the AI can guide, and they can plow, and they can plant, and they can have a minimal human impact, as we all know that the labor is becoming a big issue, not only in US but also in other parts of the world where we don't have active human labor available. And so this is where autonomous tractors can take a big role. And then with the push of the button, or through remote monitoring and controlling, you have the ability to plant the seeds for a given season, and eliminating significant amount of labor costs. And harvesting also, for example, which is again labor oriented. You need to have a lot of people getting into the field and picking up. And so this is where a robotic technology can have a significant in terms. Particularly, we've seen this in strawberries and and other value-added crops, where you can send in a robot into the field, and it can actually pick the right strawberries for you without even bruising them. So that's to the extent at which it is very precise. And then precision spraying drones. It can release the fertilizer from the aerial above, and exactly in a location where you need it. For example, through AI, you uncover where are the pockets where there are disease occurrence. So you can send in a drone, exact coordinates, and then it'll do an optimized spray. And that way, you're being much more effective in there. And there are also some new emerging areas where people are using mini drones or mini drones to do pollination because the bee population has been going down, and so this is very important for your seed set and stuff like that. So this is where technologies are coming up where you have the ability to send mini drones into the field, and then they can do the pollination for you. So overall, I think this is a market, the agriculture robotic market is rapidly growing. And right now it's a projection of about $16 billion, and um, by 2030 it's going to be $100 billion, and that's an exponential growth that we are witnessing in this field. Now, so my final slide, I think, just to kind of wrap it up, and before I kind of dive into some of the work that I'm doing at Grow Further, can I go to the last slide, Rohit? Thank you. Not this last slide, the slide for the AI thing, where it talks about future outlook and conclusion. Go, yeah. No, 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 no. Go back. Before launching these green slides, there's one last slide that I want to talk about to kind of wrap it up. The title of the slide is slide number 8, which is Future Outlook and Conclusion. Yes, stop there. Stop right there. Thank you. Thank you. So I guess I didn't want to go deep into all of these topics. Perhaps there could be a session arranged later on where we can talk about. I wanted to give you a very general overview about AI and its application in agriculture. So each of these topic is standalone topic in its own self. So we should if you have more interest on any specific area, then we can come back and talk about it in more detail at a later point of time. But essentially, I think the key takeaway is that AI is transforming agriculture through a data-driven insights and automation. It's helping us to optimize the resource, particularly reduce utilization of water and pesticides, and also a result of which reduce wastage and increasing the efficiency. It's accelerating the breeding and improving the pest management practices also. And at the same time, AI is playing a significant role, as we see in some of those examples, in terms of having a sustainability and a climate adoption practices. So the challenge still remains. What are some of the challenges that when we talk about AI application in agriculture? It's not being done, by everyone at the moment because of the high cost of adoption, and there are data privacy issues. There's training and education needs that are required because it's a new technology and people need to get really familiar. When you talk about a country like India, where there are a lot of smallholder farmers, they need to be educated, they need to be trained to using these, and which is happening in definitely in India right now. But also, I think ensuring the access to smallholder farmers so that we give these technologies to the right people so that they can utilize them, and then start taking the benefits of this. So future, I think I mentioned here future trends that are happening in this is it's edge computing for faster and real-time data decisions, and then more advanced AI models, that can help process complex variables like climate and market data together, and then give more insights and more information in hands of smallholder farmers, so they know exactly what to do, what to plant, and when to harvest and when to sell, so that they are much more profitable. And so, and in integrating AI across different ecosystems, like the entire supply chain, from seed to supermarket, so these are some of the areas that actually are going to be hitting the market pretty soon. So I think, in closing, what I would say, particularly AI in agriculture, it's not just about better farming, it's about feeding the world more sustainably, or a future scientist or an innovator and a citizen, will play, and I see a lot of you people are in this crowd that are going to be, future scientists. So you will be playing a key role in shaping how this technology is used responsibly. So I think that actually concludes my presentation on the AI thing. I just want to shift gears here and talk about my work at Grow Further. So can I go to the next slide, please? So yeah. All right. So sounds good. So what is Grow Further? So the organization where I'm working with currently it's actually a privately funded secular nonprofit based in Seattle. The organization is based in Seattle. I'm based in California, San Diego, and it focuses on providing grants to agriculture science in developing countries. So we're currently active in Africa, and we have actually officially started the RFP process for India, and we are currently working on a collaboration in getting a memorandum of understanding with the Indian Council of Agriculture very soon to be finalized. Dr. Ankur may know, I was in Delhi, and so we had some very good discussions with the senior officials at the ICAR. The idea is that we would fund initiatives in research institutes and in universities that have agriculture programs and that are actually working for the benefits of smallholder farmers, right? So so we are relatively a new program, but we have funded so far four major projects in Africa, and then we are independent of U.S. government and agendas or any geopolitical or reliance on U.S. contractors. So we are not touched by whether a given party is ruling the country, whether it's Republican or Democratic. We are completely independent, and we are supported primarily by individual donors, and these include Indian Americans and also other diaspora communities that are present there. Can I go to the next slide, please? So yeah, so I think we touched about this in terms of the problem statement itself, but I will kind of very briefly go through this. We know that today food security is a big thing. There are 828 million people, a disproportionate amount of women and children that go to bed every day with hunger, and there are billions more that are malnutrition and food insecure. Um, and The other important connection between food and health, um, because 40% of the global deaths occur today because of the lack of poor diet. Now, poor diets account for about 9 million deaths per year globally, and about 30 to 40, 35% of the cancer-related deaths are associated with the poor diets and obesity. And I think, without going into details, it suffice to say that it cost the healthcare industry over about $8.1 trillion overall. And there are issues related to soil degradation, lower nutrient density in the crops. We discussed about this. And then, agriculture as such, if you look at, it emits about 30% of greenhouse gases, which results in global warming, and it consumes about 70% of the fresh water usage. And, while these problems are, global, but the most significant impact is the smallholder farmers, in the developing world in global South. They are the ones that are impacted by this overall issues that we face in agriculture today. So what Grow Further is doing, essentially, can I go to the next slide, please? Thank you very much. So we are using a completely different approach for problem solving here. So we are uniting individual donors, scientists, and smallholder farmers to solve one of the biggest challenges that we face in humanity today related to food security and climate change. So our focus is agriculture innovation. By focusing on the science and the agriculture innovation, we are able to overcome some of the systemic barriers that are preventing smallholder farmers from adapting to climate change or improving their economic farm income, and so on and so forth. So through this model, through this philanthropic model, which I talked about, we are actually hopeful to reduce social inequalities and also increase farm incomes in the developing countries. So I'll talk about a little bit in terms of some of the case studies. Can I go to the quickly to the next slide, please? Thank you. So this is one of the projects that we have funded in Ghana in a crop called Bambara groundnut. And so the Bambara groundnut is very important for food security in Ghana, and it's mostly grown by smallholder women farmers. And the challenge is that till date, we don't have a commercial variety of Bambara groundnut available in Ghana. So we funded this research initiatives in collaboration with a local research organization called CSRI, Savannah Agriculture Research Institute. And our goal is to develop the first commercial variety of Bambara groundnut and give it to the smallholder farmers, in collaboration. So instead of working, independently, we are actually doing this in a very participatory manner where we are talking to farmers. we're understanding what their needs are, and then we are developing those traits that are more relevant for smallholder farmer women, and then giving it back to them so that they can increase their productivity by 25%, and also develop varieties that are drought tolerant. And so because the drought is a big issue in Africa. Now, in addition to that, what we are doing is that we are providing market linkages where the smallholder farmers in Ghana can develop this and sell it in alternative protein industry markets. So, for example, there are companies like What If Foods based in Singapore. So the smallholder farmers can be directly linked to the industry there, so that they can get premium, reward for growing these sort of crops in Africa. So a couple of things, and I think since it's grown by women, smallholder farmers, so we are empowering women for taking up these projects, and we're also increasing drought and also yield stress in the Bambara groundnut farm. So that's and when we look at in terms of impact, we anticipate that this project alone could impact 20 million smallholder farmers in Ghana in the next 20 years. So that's how we look at return on investment is per dollar invested, how many millions of lives are we impacting, right? So this is one example of that. Can I go to the next slide? There is another interesting project which I mentioned about is developing an AI-powered early detection maize and common bean diseases. And this is a program that we are working in participation with Nelson Mandela African Institute of Science and Technology. Think about it as utilization of AI in combination with the technology that's already being adapted. So, which is smartphone technology. So today everybody has smartphones. And so now what we are doing is we are providing another additional app to the smallholder farmers that can actually take it to the field, scan it, and then they can understand whether there is a disease occurrence ahead of time, right? That's very important, not just at the neck of the moment, but you can detect a disease ahead of time and then do the mitigation strategies, and so you can prevent the crop losses. So this project, again, we anticipate that it's going to significantly impact about 5 million smallholder farmers in Tanzania when the app is going to be launched in the year or so. So the next slide. There's another project that we have funded. Can I go to the next slide, please? So this is another project that we are trying to do in Ethiopia to develop a new off-season irrigated wheat, for smallholder farmers there. And this is, it's going to have significant impact as well. So can I go to the next slide? This is a very interesting project that we are doing in collaboration with Harvest Plus and ICRUSAT. I talked about nutrition and how important nutrition is. If you look at Zimbabwe, the people that are suffering from anemia and deficiencies because of the lack of zinc in the diet. And so we, through biofortification process, we are increasing the iron content in the pearl millet, so that when the people eat that pearl millet, which is a staple food, they are actually, the food is supplemented with enough of iron so that it can prevent chronic illnesses as it relates to iron deficiency and so on and so forth. So this is going to be another impactful project that is going to impact millions of people in Zimbabwe and so on and so forth. Now, like last slide, I think is the last slide. Can I go to the next slide, please? Thank you very much. So I mentioned about all these projects that are present currently being deployed in Africa. Our focus for 2025 is initiating these projects in India, because India is about 130 million smallholder farmers, and about 14.8% of them are food insecure. So we are trying to grow further projects into India. So I'm happy to share with you that we already have received 300 plus applications from various Indian research institutes, from ICAR, from ICRUSAT, from local agricultural universities. So we have identified top 50 of them, in the initial screen. And now we have, basically invited them to apply for detailed proposals. So when we get the detailed proposals, we will be screening them, and then we'll be identifying, 4 to 5 projects this year. And then we will fund them in various areas that are aligned with the Grow for This mission. And also we look at, how many of these projects could have a significant outcome in terms of impact. So that's what we're looking at. Like, a given technology can impact like 100,000 farmers, or and another technology can impact millions of farmers. So we're looking at the scale of impact. We are picking those projects that have science component that has got a research component that could be developed and can be given to smallholder farmers so that we have a maximum widespread adoption and impact generated to that. Now, if some of you were wondering, how to become a part of Grow Further network, there are various ways through which you can engage with Grow Further. If you are a rich person sitting in the audience, you can donate, and these are tax optimized donations. If you are a student and if you are a faculty that is interested in being a part of a very mission-oriented and impact-driven organization, you can become a volunteer with Grow Further, and you can also spread the message, act as brand ambassadors for Grow Further, and talk about the impactful work that Grow Further is doing, particularly in India, where we are initiating right now. We need more and more people to talk about Grow Further. So you can become a part of our membership, and then you can spread the message through that. So this is a QR code that if you scan, it will directly take you to the website, and you can find more information about Grow Further. And if you are a person that's involved in a corporate world, you can help us put us in touch with the corporate social responsibility team so that we can talk to them about how to engage with Grow Further and so on and so forth. So I think that's about it. Dr. Ankur, I think I'm going to be stopping there, and we can open up the floor for any questions that you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for this insightful lecture. We are truly grateful to have you with us here. And the way you explain the role of AI in agriculture was truly remarkable. We got to learn so many precise and valuable things that will definitely help us look at agriculture from a new perspective. We are especially grateful for the way you introduced us to the vision of your organization, Grow Further, and how it is addressing the core problems in agriculture by providing practical ways to tackle them. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us today. So now, if anyone is having any question, the chat box is open. Kindly type your questions, and I'll be conveying the questions to the sir.
Please ask question related to the PPT, not related to politics.
Yeah, no, I think one of the things I want to say, Ankur, this is a very good start. I haven't covered things in much detail. I wanted to give this a very general presentation so that to elicit enough of interest in this topic about AI in agriculture. But each of those slides could be several hours of discussion in itself. And so perhaps if there is any interest in there, we can come back and talk about any of that
Now,
topic.
two questions in chat box at present. One is Dr. Pragati Srivastava, and second is Dr. Sipal. Dr. Ayushi Pal. Two questions are there. Dr. Pragati Srivastava is asking how AI can help in microbial medicated FE biofortification in terms of nutritional security.
Okay, that's a very interesting question. So essentially, when you look at microbial mediated, so again, like several years ago, like people used to think that soil is inert; it does not have anything other than a mineral composition and stuff like that. But with the advent of modern technology, we are now able to understand the diversity of microbial population that's present within a soil through genome sequencing. So you can do a 16S ribosomal RNA sequencing and understand the variability of the microbes that are present in a given soil, and that's very important, right? The symbiosis and the presence of the right composition of microbes or the microbe consortiums is very relevant in terms of it translating into the nutritional benefits for the crop that you're producing in that or through biofortification. So by understanding the compositional analysis of the soil using the genomic tools, you know exactly what microbial populations are lacking, and then you can further supplement that with the right set of microbes through microbial formulations or microbial solutions that in turn can restore the balance of the right set of microbes that you want for the kind of applications that you're looking at. So yeah. And so any more
Sir, the
questions?
next question is how AI can be incorporated for extension scientists in India?
Okay, yeah, no, that's a great question. So I can think about a company called Digital Greens, whom we have have done some collaborative projects in terms of creating the awareness of the digital green solution. So the biggest challenge, in a country like India, particularly where people speak different languages, depending on where you are, north, east, west, south, right? So AI can actually, well, that's exactly what Digital Greens is creating is a regional specific language model where farmers can chat in the local language, or scientists or the extension people can get be a part of that ecosystem, and then they can address the challenges that the farmers are facing in a given language, in a given particular area with a given language. So I would advise you to take more closer look at this company called Digital Greens. And they have done some very extensive work in incorporating AI for extension scientists in India, particularly. How will you predict pest, disease, and weed problem through AI artificial? And this is exactly the project that I was referring to in what Grow Further is funded in Tanzania by clicking up images and by creating a huge database. And you'd create an algorithm that could swiftly script through. You take an unknown picture, and then it goes back to the database with the occurrence of several diseases. And it's a crop specific model, right? You can't use a model that you develop for maize in doing for corn. So every crop is so unique. So you need to really take pictures, and you have to understand the progression of disease in terms of phenotype for a given crop type, develop that database, and then utilize it for detecting diseases through your smartphone based app. So again, reach out to me if you want to have more conversation about that. I will quickly type in my email, or you can ask from Dr. Ankur to share that email, my email with you. So that's that prediction model that we have built up in Tanzania for doing diseases. And I'm sure, you can use the same thing for doing weed problems as well. So the detailed documentation and understanding about the disease progression is very critical. And so once you capture that into your model, then you can actually predict based on that and model parameters, what is the occurrence of a disease in an unknown state. So thank you for the wonderful lecture, how AI can use for varietal development. Yeah, so I think we can go on and on. I mean, AI could help you in terms of um, predicting the right combination of alleles that you need to have for a given target agroclimatic conditions to get the perfect idiotype established. So you have the genomic information, you got the genomic information of the entire variability that's present in a given crop species, and then you utilize that, and then you try to predict. Nowadays, you have the AI-driven models that can actually say that, okay, even before you make any crosses, right? Even before you start your breeding program or varietal development program, you can take the historic database, you can look at the target agroclimatic conditions, you can simulate crosses, and you can say that, oh, this is the kind of combination of crosses that I need to have. So that I can have a successful yield in this particular target environment. And so there are a lot of companies that are working in there, including a company called Nomaze, where they're doing some phenomenal work. And so again, for more information, send me an email. I'll get you more details on that. Anywhere in India is being practiced. AI. Oh yeah, there's a lot of companies that are, so HFN is another company that is providing tools for. It's called AI tool for Mandi. Essentially how farmers can sell in what directly to the consumer rather than going through the middlemen. HFN is a company that is doing some very interesting work there, where they're connecting farmers to the consumers directly, so that you don't have to go to the middleman and lose erode your profit margins. So that way they know exactly at what prices their crops are going to be sold, at what prices, and they can choose and pick where, which market to go, and stuff like that. So there are a lot of companies like that, and HFN is one thing that it comes to my mind immediately, but there are more like that. How can I use AI for pesticide designing for plant diseases. And again, it's a target molecule discovery, similar sort of approaches what the drug industry uses for development of different drugs. They're using various AI models. So instead of screening for hundreds and thousands of compounds manually, if you have an algorithm that can really predict what that particular disease is and what kind of pests that could go where, you can actually simulate that and then kind of whittle it down to a smaller number of molecules instead of testing, and the lab costs that are associated with that, you can bring it significantly lower by looking at precise targets that you want to actually take it forward for further development and optimization and so forth. AI for crop water requirement, again, yes, like some of the examples that we discussed in terms of optimizing and combination with the Internet of Things, and you can actually regulate the amount of water that actually goes into a particular zone, and not overwater a particular field, and so on and so forth. So those are some of the things that are well known. Um, Okay, thank you for my questions. How AI realistically helps small-scale farmers who are struggling even to afford quality seeds when technology itself is too costly to them? Yeah, especially in India. That's a great question, and this is where it needs to really bridge. So I think we are doing our part as a philanthropic organization is to bridge that gap by funding research initiatives that can directly go to the farmers. But it's a bigger question what you ask. That is Anita. Yeah, Dr. Anita. It is a big question, and there has to be proper incentives, um, and corporates, have to come up and take a new approach for getting these sort of products out in the market, not just profit driven, but also for social responsibility as well. And certainly, Grow Further is doing its part. And we hope that more people can join along with us in kind of really addressing this very important thing. So providing affordable quality seeds to farmers, right? And so that's exactly what we are doing. But I hope the rest of the other industry will also come and join this ecosystem and also provide um, value-added products to the markets in an affordable price. So is it cost effective for our country? Yeah. How can AI-driven multi-omics integration transcripts can be optimized accurately G by E by? Yeah, it's all the way you train your model with the different variables that are present in there. You can train your model based on genomics, prediction, like you can do phenotype, you can do multi-omics technologies. All of those could be integrated into your model, and then you can do a multivariant sort of a prediction model where you can have a better chance of developing varieties that are more aligned with what the needs of the give different agroclimatic zones are there. Any training program in artificial intelligence in agriculture? Okay, that's a good question. This is one of them. But what are the prices of a, I don't know, I think there are more resources that don't come to my head right now, but send me an email. I'll find out more for you. What are the prices of AI component? I don't think I understand that question properly. Are there any AI tools which can deal with phenomic data and can be used in crop improvement? I'm sure there are. That is an definitely, I think I'm thinking about a few of the companies, like I think Nomaze is one of them that is doing this. How the climate variation determine the disease management, artificial intelligence. I'm not sure I understand that question. Um, oh boy, there are a ton of questions here. Let's see. What are the prices of AI components? Um, Again, I think it depends from case to case and what you're trying to achieve. So there's no standard answer there. You have to talk about more details there. Are there any AI tools that can deal with phenomic data? We discussed that. How the climate variations determined by disease management, artificial intelligence. Sam, so I'm not sure I understand that question properly, unless and until somebody wants to unmute and kind of explain that a little bit more. I'll go to the next question. How AI can help reduce Breeding cycle, yeah, develop varieties in climate change. Yeah, that's a great question. I think we touched about that. By reducing breeding samples, like I said, like conventional track without AI, 10 to 15 years. But with AI, exactly, what sort of crosses that you can make, or you can use genome selection approaches can reduce the cycle time by 3 to 5 years, because now you are not spending as much of phenotypic data as time in the season, in the field. So as a result of which, you're significantly cutting down the time that it would take to evaluate a crop, because you have to go manually plant them, manually visualize, and then advance it selectively. But with genomics data, you can actually take a pinch of a leaf, you can detect, you can isolate the DNA, and you can run all the SNP marker tests or genome sequencing data on that, and then you can predict which crops you want to selectively advance. For example, not only that, instead of growing hundreds and thousands of plants in the field, you're actually only growing a subset fraction of that. So your field cost is reduced significantly. So you're not growing thousands of plants, you're actually growing hundreds or maybe tens of plants in the field. So, and then you're selectively advancing them to the next generation. So if you look at the breeding in normal distribution, right, there are plants that are going to be having lower agronomic performance, but you also have on the other end of the bell curve, you have got plants that have the superior agronomics. So with genomics and with the combination of the genome selection and the AI, you're selectively picking those plants from that other end of the normal distribution and advancing them to the next generation into increased genetic gain. So, and as a result of which, you are reducing the breeding time and development of varieties for the marketplace. As we know, the workforce in agriculture is more than contribution to country's income. Can AI help to make it a balance? Workforce in agriculture is more than contribution. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking you're referring to the labor here, right? Yeah, so we touched about that in terms of utilization of robotics, and how you can be, as a farmer, be more efficient, yeah, and then harvest the crop with the help of robotics and save huge amount of time there, and our cost as well. Lecture was very informative. Thank you very much. And then, sir, the informative lecture. Thank you. How AI support in genome editing? Wow, perfect question. So genome editing, if you know, is
Lots
essentially
of
only.
applications are coming. Very good lecture. Very good lecture. Nice lecture.
Oh, thanks. So AI in genome editing. So genome editing, for you to have a successful genome editing program, there are a couple of things. One is that you need to have a good transformation system where you can actually deliver the gene and the genome editing tools, and then you can regenerate the plants after you've done genome editing. So where AI can really help you is in the target discovery. Because for genome editing, you need to have a target that you want to discover, that you want to make changes. So that's where AI can play a huge role in identifying what sort of precise mutations that you need to make at which location within a gene, whether you have to make one mutation, whether you have to make multiple mutations within a gene. So AI prediction algorithms can really guide you in the target discovery, and also in optimizing the guide RNAs that you would use for doing the genome editing and stuff like that. So instead of doing hundreds of trial and error method, you can precisely use AI to find out what's the most efficient guide. You need to have a guide that can actually bind to the target area and efficiently do the cutting and stuff like that. And so there are applications like that. But also on the tissue culture side of things, you know that it's very complex. People that are involved in tissue culture, they may know that it's a varietal specific. It's very challenging to regenerate a given crop. And if you know exactly, I understand a crop like rice, indica versus japonica. So japonica has got a higher transformation capability, higher regeneration capability. Now you can understand based on that, and you can develop a model in terms of what sort of media kind of combinations that you need to have so that you can get embryonic cells, and then utilize that to optimize your not just your genome editing tool development, but also on the regeneration side of things. Now, how is AI in farm machineries would be affecting precision farming? We already spoke about that, so in the interest of time, I'm not going to repeat it. But Dr. Ankur, how much time do we have? Are we done here? Do we have time? How much more time do we have?
No issue, sir. You can continue.
Yeah. Okay.
Up to 8. Up to 8.
Oh, I have to drop my kids to the school, so I have to
Okay, no
cut off.
issue, no issue. You can
So-
wind up within 5 to 7 minutes. No issue, sir.
Okay. Okay,
Ah.
very good. There is a very big question. The presentation lecture was very fruitful. My question is regarding the floricultures. Wow, as it's very underrated product of agriculture in India presently, we have many problems regarding cultivation and how AI is very helpful. Kindly let me know if you have any applications, farmers. I have to think about it a little bit to answer this question, but I can quickly relate to a project and one of the startups that I was doing is to increase the shelf life of the floriculture crops. So we had a very interesting gene technology through genome editing. We were able to extend the shelf life of perishable produce, but then also same technology could be applied to floriculture crops like carnations for roses. So normal roses would last for a week, right? And I know that a lot of people celebrate Valentine's Day and then they give away roses, and that rose would last for only 1 or 2 days, and then it'll it'll go bad because of the shelf life, limited shelf life. But through the technology, what we did, we were able to extend the shelf life of roses to several weeks. So if you take a carnation, it will stay fresh for 21 days. Nothing happens. So we demonstrated that in carnation, but then we also were working in roses to see if we can increase the shelf life extension of roses. So that is very important, valuable trait for floriculturists to see that how long my flowers would last, right? And this is where genome editing and then furthermore the AI application in the genome editing field could really help optimize all the tools that are required for getting the best possible genome editing efficiency in the floriculture crops. But also I can think about connecting with the supply chain and getting the best prices in the market. There might be applications that could be specifically brought about in the thing. I can't think about a specific tool. Maybe that's an opportunity for a startup here. If somebody wants to take that opportunity to understand what are the challenges of the floriculture industry, try to map it down, and then create a startup in that around that space to add value to the smallholder farmers. Yeah, send me an email, Rushab Makwana. I would like to chat more with you about on that topic. It's a very interesting question. Very good information question. Is there any innovation model or a kind of model to detect forest fires? Very good. Very good question. Yes, there is definitely there, particularly in the area where I live, forest fires are a big things. As some of you may have heard about the LA fires that broke in 6 months ago, literally destroyed all the houses in that area. And it's again predicting. I'm not sure. Right on top of my head, I don't remember a tool that I can share with you right now, but I'm sure there are more that are that are available after. If you want to do some searches, there are a ton of those tools available in there. It's a big issue for sure. Plant needs sensor means huge amount of data is needed. Yes, that's why AI is important. You're bringing in AI because not of a small data sets. You want to have large amount of data sets, and that the better data, the quality of data that goes into AI prediction models, better is the outcome. So it's garbage in, garbage out. So if you feed your model with limited data or poor set of data, you're going to get poor predictions. But you need to make sure that you get good amount of data set, quality is good, and then it in turn increases the accuracy of what you're trying to do there. Another question is what kind of PhD level dissertation topic can be worked in relation to AI extension? Oh, good question. I have to think about it. It's a big question. I can't give you an answer right now. Send me an email. The presentation um, um, was kind and informative. Thank you, sir. My question is AI realistically helps smallholder farmers who are struggling to afford quality. And he's coming back again. I think this is what I mentioned before. Grow Further is already working in that space. Good lecture. How is AI helpful in small marginal farmers? Same, we talked about it. Um, as an agripreneur, I need to connect and take your further guidance. Okay, good. Thank you for sharing such an insightful answer and give me a new perspective. Okay, good. I think that's the end of all the questions I covered quickly. Hopefully it was helpful.
No issue,
Again,
sir. I will send your email in the registered participants group. If somebody want to ask something, they may
yes,
text you or email you for the same.
yeah,
Yeah.
very good. I think very good,
Yep. All the queries
participation.
resolved. I think
Yeah, very
nothing in
good
the chat
participation.
box.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, good. So that's it. So thank you, Dr. Ankur, for this opportunity to connect with your university and your network of people. It was pleasure speaking with all of you. And
Thank you so much.
Namaskar. Yeah. And I'm glad that I'm able to do that. I'm severely jet lagged. I just came in from Delhi, and it was a busy week for me. But thanks for giving this opportunity. And hopefully we can have more such interactive sessions in future.
Definitely. Nandini. Nandini, are you there?
Yes, sir. On the behalf of entire AgriMeet Foundation, sir, we are truly grateful for your presence here, and we would like to have your support for further future academic and collaborative activities. So yeah, thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, thank you. I'm going to quickly drop my email if anybody wants to send. All right, so thank
No
you very
issue, sir.
much.
I will. Yes. I will send, sir, in a registered
Okay.
participants group. If somebody want to ask something or any collaboration or anything else, they can drop a message.
Yes,
And last,
yes.
thank you so much, sir, for accepting my request, acknowledging my request. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. Looking forward for your support in the future academic activities of our foundation.
very good.
Thank
You're
you so
doing some
much.
great job. You're doing very interesting. You're
Just
doing
because
something
of
very
your support only, I am only Ankur. I can't do anything, sir. I am only Ankur. You all are the
like
tall trees. All are the tall trees.
the अंकुर से ही बनता है बड़ा ट्री. But thank you very much.
मैं तो हमेशा
Thank you
बोलता
very
हूँ
much.
मैं एक अंकुर हूँ. आगे भी सर आपका यही सहयोग चाहिए होगा. डेफिनेटली
जरूर.
एक एकेडमिक फ्रेटर्निटी को जो चाहिए वो हम करके दिखाएंगे, वो करके देंगे. थैंक यू सो मच सर. आपके यहाँ तो बहुत अर्ली है. आपको अपने बच्चों को भी स्कूल ले जाना है. 6 और 7 बजा होगा सुबह का. वहाँ कितना हो रहा है सर अभी?
Yeah, 7 o'clock, 7:15. Yeah.
7:15. आप इस लेक्चर के कारण सुबह 6 AM पर जग गए. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर. बहुत बहुत
Very good.
धन्यवाद. मेरे पास शब्द
Okay.
नहीं है एक्सप्रेस करने के लिए. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद.
बहुत धन्यवाद आपका भी. Okay, I'll
डेफिनेटली
take
डेफिनेटली.
yeah, bye.
जी, सभी पार्टिसिपेंट्स लेफ्ट कर सकते हैं. थैंक यू सो मच फॉर ज्वाइनिंग.